Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from Velocity 2014 in New York. I'm here with Jonathan Rendy from Keynote. Jonathan, you're the Executive Vice President of Products
and Marketing.
So, Keynote's been around for quite a while, but can you give us a little idea of who you are as a company and what's important to you?
Yeah, happy to, Mike. So over the past couple of years, most people know Keynote because of what we do in the performance management area. We do the last mile, we do the outside-in view of how your assets, your web-based assets are working, your digital assets. Over the past couple of years, though, we've pivoted and added to that and focused on probably one of the most disruptive areas in the world today, and that's mobile. And so if you think of the people who own all of e-commerce, they own all the desktop assets. Probably the fastest growing and least understood area is mobile and mobile apps as a part of that whole digital experience.
So mobile is kind of disruptive, and it has been for a while, but there's more to mobile than just phones. There's all these little connected devices, and there's other ones that are going to be connected in the wild. Are you guys going to be addressing more than just mobile, but everything?
Absolutely. So at the show here, we're announcing a couple of industry firsts, and one of those is support for wearables. So people long have been trying to test their desktop applications. They've now recently been testing their mobile apps, and what we've introduced now is the testing of wearable devices. Because going forward, we're seeing a lot of our organizations, companies, customers, partners that we're working with, looking at how they can integrate wearable devices with the mobile apps themselves.
And so that's going to happen more and more, and you're going to be monitoring everything in mobile, everything on this, and my desktop?
That's right. We see the emergence and the rise of the Chief Digital Officer, somebody who either formally or informally, they own all the digital assets in the organization. And the desktop's been well understood for a while when it comes to user experience and performance, but when it comes to the world of mobile, there isn't as much of a benchmark out there, there isn't as much of a baseline of what people should and should not be doing.
Are we going to care as much about screenless monitoring? So a device that sits in the wild that's a connected device that has to respond and do something quickly? Maybe it's watching your car go through a traffic signal or something like that. Are we going to care about screenless devices as well?
I think going forward, the Internet of Things clearly is going to play a pretty key role. Everything's going to be connected, everything's going to have an IP address, and we do believe that going forward, people are going to have to measure and manage and monitor the performance of those items just like they do an application today.
Okay, so you mentioned you guys kind of monitor and measure the last mile, but you do more than that as a company, and the industry also has other players. Can you kind of tease out a little bit about who the players are in the back-end monitoring, the last mile monitoring, and maybe the app monitoring or
And so the industry is shifting and changing all the time. It's very dynamic. And Keynote has always had a very big focus when it comes to the complete end user experience and being able to break down the performance of that from the end user outside of all of the assets and the firewall and everything that's controlled within an enterprise, but the complete end-to-end experience. There are a number of players who have focused primarily on everything inside the firewall, all the traditional kind of APM players when it comes to real monitoring, real user monitoring, and so forth. One of the things that we see going forward is, we mentioned before, mobile. Mobile's very disruptive. And so there are a number of small players we see growing in the mobile app space, measuring the performance of that. And Keynote's focus is to do all the digital channels, whether it's a desktop application, the complete experience outside the firewall, to the complete transaction, to everything mobile included as well. So there's the APM market, we're players in the APM market, there's the mobile APM market, and we see those two converging over time.
So kind of full stack monitoring.
That's
you
right.
Do the whole stack, not just the back end or the front end. Yeah. Okay, so where do you see monitoring going in the future? Where does Keynote see your future going?
So one of the key things that we've been focused on, and we see this talking to our customers all the time, is understanding the performance of all these digital assets is important, but more importantly, understanding the impact on their business. So when you can take that performance and see how that impacts a shopping cart transaction, see how that impacts real revenue, either top line or bottom line, that's what's important to that formal or informal owner of all the digital assets.
So that's kind of the mentality of, if you don't measure it, you can't change it. And measuring it means monitoring and a lot of things. So one thing that gets me is this whole user experience thing. And we talked a little bit about this earlier. Are we measuring the right thing in the user experience? And how do we get better at creating a great user experience that runs across all devices and the full stack?
I think that is kind of the key element. It's really performance in context is what we talk about, and the context is that of the business itself. Everybody constantly gets enamored with all the detailed performance breakdowns of where there are delays, and it's important, but at the end of the day, if you own all the digital assets of your company that's driving real revenue, you care about if there's a big launch and performance goes down and people can't buy things from your digital assets on your sites, that's a problem. And so we're looking to correlate all of that information together to create actionable insights so that these owners can take decisions real time or post-analysis, either way, and understand how they can optimize their business.
So Jonathan, are there any areas of the world that Keynote sees a larger growth area than others, or are there industry segments that are growing quicker than others?
It's interesting. North America, for obvious reasons, has seemed to move more quickly when it comes to some of the newer innovations, whether it's mobile apps, wearables, some of those things. But what we see in other regions is the volume, the number of people who are accessing and quickly moving to new models of commerce, new models of accessing goods and information is outpacing how things have evolved in North America. So, clearly North America becomes, and Europe, become first movers, but the rest of the world can leapfrog many of the steps.
Because they can skip some of the hiccups that we...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Jonathan, we look forward to seeing you at Future Velocities. Thank you for your time today.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.